For years, my group of friends and I had driven past an old abandoned grain mill off the main road. It had always piqued our curiosity, but we had never actually explored it until one fateful night. I should say that I don't really believe in ghost stories and that kind of thing, but I still enjoy the buzz of spooky places at night. I guess we were just looking for a thrill. Well, we got one. With a mix of excitement and apprehension, we gathered at the mill, ready to unravel its mysteries. The air was still and quiet, just the sound of our laughter and attempts to spook each other. It seemed like harmless fun at first. As we ventured deeper into the mill, our steps echoed through its decaying corridors. We stumbled upon a room at the back, a vast space with a single oversized window. The glass had long vanished, leaving only the skeletal remains of the frame. We marvelled at the eerie beauty of the moonlight filtering in. Just as we were about to leave, revelling in our audacity, a loud crash reverberated through the room. We froze, hearts instantly pounding. The window which we had just looked at moments ago had slammed shut. Confusion gripped us as we exchanged bewildered glances. That window was definitely already closed, my friend Alex muttered, the disbelief evident in his voice. We were all certain that we had seen it shut, but as we stood there, dumbfounded, the window began to move. Slowly at first it rose up, before crashing shut with an unsettling force, and then it repeated the sequence, this time ascending faster. Our shouts and screams filled the room as we watched in disbelief at what was happening. We couldn't fathom what we were seeing. The window defying the laws of nature right before our eyes. Panic consumed us, and without a second thought, we sprinted towards the exit. In our haste, we had to retrace our steps through the dark corridors and rooms. As we passed through, other doors and windows slammed shut with a resounding force, amplifying the terror that gripped us. The once amusing adventure had transformed into a panic-filled nightmare. Finally, we burst out into the open air, gasping for breath as we stumbled away from the mill. I don't think I've ever felt my heart beat so hard. I was so scared I couldn't even bring myself to look back, even though there was nothing but silence behind us. We could never fully explain the inexplicable events of that night. The abandoned mill that we had seen every day without giving it any thought had shown us a glimpse of the supernatural. Even after that experience, I'd still say I don't believe in ghosts or haunted houses or anything like that, but I also have absolutely no way to explain what we all saw that night. This happened about 15 years ago. Me and some friends had set out to explore an old abandoned hospital just outside Glasgow in search of the perfect backdrop for our music video. The site was massive, with a towering Victorian building surrounded by sprawling land and outbuildings. However, we had to tread carefully due to the potential dangers lurking within. Broken glass, gaping holes in the floors, and rotten staircases to name but three. Armed with torches and camera lights, we squeezed through a broken window to gain entry. The moment we stepped inside, an eerie ambience enveloped us. The hospital was full of creepy shit that seemed straight out of a horror movie. Prams, cots, bibs, wheelchairs, and examination chairs. It was as if time had frozen within those decaying walls. Perfect for the type of music video we were hoping to film. Navigating through the darkness, every tiny noise and echo amplified our senses. The vast rooms and labyrinth corridors stretched before us, intimidating in their sheer size. As we made our way, a faint sound caught our attention. Slow footsteps echoing from the stairs we were about to descend. A chill ran down our spines and we exchanged alarmed glances. Without uttering a word, we silently retreated, choosing to retrace our steps and exit from the same direction we had entered. However, as we made our way back, our hearts sank as we heard footsteps approaching from that direction too. Panic seized us, and we desperately attempted to remain silent. In the room, we found ourselves confronted with 3 doors at the end. The first door stood stubbornly locked, eliminating it as an escape route. With trepidation, we pushed open the second door, revealing a long, dimly lit corridor that stretched into blackness. At the far end, a solitary window provided a glimpse of the outside world. With adrenaline pumping through our veins, we quickened our pace, determined to distance ourselves from the imminent danger. The sound of approaching footsteps grew louder behind us, echoing through the room we had just left. Desperation set in as we reached the window, only to find it sealed shut, denying us our means of escape. In a bold act of defiance, one friend exclaimed, "Fuck it." Using his jacket-covered elbow as a makeshift battering ram, he shattered the window pane. Glass fragments rained down, clearing a path to freedom. With fear hot on our heels, we poured out of the window as fast as we could. Our hearts pounding, we wasted no time, running down the long driveway that led to our friend's car. Our footsteps reverberated in the stillness of the night. Behind us, I could hear the sounds of glass shattering, confirming our fears. Someone else was within the hospital's halls with us. We had no clue as to their intention or purpose, just as they were left wondering about our own presence. It was a really warm night around the end of July. Me and my friends were making our way back from this epic trip, lazily cruising down the highway and yawning more than was good for us. Deciding we needed a break from the long drive, we figured we'd pull in at the next motel. After a couple of miles of squinting in the dark, we finally saw a sign and pulled in. There were no other cars out front besides ours, and apart from a single streetlight at the entrance to the car park, the place was in total darkness. We parked the car and hopped out, looking for some desk where we could check in, but soon realised checking in was way too ambitious for a place like this. It was utterly deserted, dilapidated and decayed. The reception sign was even broken, hanging off at an angle above a boarded up door. The boards were loose, and once we got one plank free, we used it to pry the door open. Just to have a quick look inside. The door gave the creepiest creaking groan as it opened. The noise went right through me, and suddenly I felt on edge and not at all comfortable with what we were doing. We all looked at one another, each secretly hoping the other would suggest getting out of here. Inside the office had such an eerie, forgotten vibe as we shone our phones around, totally boarded up and cobwebby. But everything still in its place, as if all the occupants had suddenly just disappeared years ago. It seemed almost comical, like something out of a spoof horror movie. I guess we got adventurous, and embracing the silly aspect of creepiness, began to roam around the place goofing off. We checked out the rooms one by one, trying to freak each other out, ambushing one another with various creaks, moans and jump scares. The objective was to catch a video of someone looking terrified or jumping out of their skin, and use this to tease and embarrass them for the rest of eternity, or at least the rest of the journey. Of course we could never stay the night there, it was way too dank and musty, but at least after all the excitement, noise, laughter and camera flashes, we had woken up a bit and could maybe eat something and get on with the journey. We found ourselves a spot on the picnic tables outside. We had some sandwiches and snacks that we picked up at the last gas station. As we were munching away, I was scrolling through the photos we had just taken to post some on Instagram, but when I zoomed in on one of the pictures, everything went cold, like I froze from the inside out. There was my friend looking completely ridiculous in the foreground, his face contorted in a rictus of joke terror. But in the background, there it was, another face, a man's face, totally impassive, bald and pale, emerging from the gloom behind my friend. My throat went dry and the sandwich seemed to turn to dust in my mouth. I couldn't swallow and started to cough and choke, and had to spit out the whole mouthful. Unable to speak, I showed my friends the picture, and as one by one they saw what I had seen, fear took hold. We exchanged wide-eyed glances. How the hell did we miss this guy when we were goofing around? Questions raced through our minds. Who was he? What was he doing there? The jovial mood had evaporated, replaced by a sense of urgency. The whole vibe had become highly sinister, and we knew it was time to leave. Without a second thought, we dashed to the car and jumped inside. The engine roared to life as we peeled out of that forsaken place, hitting a curb on the way out, bouncing us all out of our seats. As we tore out of the car park, I looked back to see the single street light in the car park flickering, and underneath, the outline of a figure, its arm raised in a slow wave, menacingly bidding us farewell. Without a doubt, that was the scariest night of my life. I always end up thinking about what if I hadn't looked at my photos when I did, and noticed that someone had been watching us the whole time.